disappeared. I brought it up the road one time, then I brought it up the next time it's gone. So if you're on financial aid, they usually give you a waiting on that check. Did you get that taken care of?
Oh yeah, I went and I told her my
Sweet. Yeah.
it said that it was already finished, but I couldn't. It was like an old list or something.
So this is the lab procedures that we're going to follow, especially in a class this size. We have to have some organization in our lab. And we'll start doing that. I know y'all turned in y'all's number system lab without one of these forms, but that's okay. That was the first one. And we got to figure out these other labs up until the lab that we're working on tonight, because we do have some homework labs that are required. But since some of y'all don't have y'all's lab book yet, but I don't want to gang y'all up on a bunch of homework labs. So the way the lab book is set up, we have labs. Some labs only have one activity, especially the homework labs. And then most of your programming labs have multiple activities inside the same lab group. The way the lab book is set up, the labs are set up in groups that they call activities. You'll never have more than 3, and you'll never have less than 1. The problem is that you can't turn them in separately from each other. So what you'll do is when you turn your labs in, you'll turn them in as the set, right? You understand that, depending on how many of us do. So it says before, but what we're going to do is we're going to use these lab grade forms. So at the end of this, I have to keep a record of your grade for 5 years, how we came up with your grade. But I know some of y'all would like to have your labs back. So instead of me, plus, I don't like keeping up with all these labs. For years we tried to do that, and we had boxes and boxes and boxes of storage that we stored all this information in. So what we do at the end of the semester, if you want your labs back, I'll give them to you. If you don't want them back, I'll shred them. And what I do is I keep that lab form. And that lab form is the official grade. So these are lab forms. Y'all got a copy of on the back. These are the lab forms right here. Every lab group gets one, and every student does one. Everybody turns in a lab. So even though we're going to work in teams of 2, everybody does a lab form, right? Everybody understand that? And everybody turns in their lab. Everybody okay? So obtain a blank lab grade form, not having a lab grade form. So here I'm sitting around here, trying to come back and grade you. You say you're ready. I come back there and we got 3 groups waiting on me. And I come back there and I say, where's your lab form at? And you say, oh, I don't have it. And, you have to run up there and get it, right? You understand? That would be like you waiting in line and somebody says, I don't have any money. And then they hold everybody up, right? You understand? Well, this person goes out to their car and gets their money so they can come back and pay their ticket. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just take off points because you didn't have your lab form. You don't have your lab form back, right? Everybody understand that? Deduction from the lab grade form. Fill in the required information at the top of the lab grade form. Y'all see that information? What's up there? Your name, right? It's on the very back. What comes next? Yeah, who's your partner, right? And then the lab group title. So every lab group has a title. And that'll be on the very first section of each lab. Everybody okay? Fill in the required information. Check the instructor's lab manual for corrections. We'll have to look at that because I don't have a copy of your lab manual, but I'm pretty sure it's about the same. You need to write your name on the title page of the experiment group. And why is that? Because these things get tore off, and if you don't put your name on the lab, then now we got we got this form somewhere in the lab somewhere, and we don't know who that is. Everybody okay? Unless otherwise specified by the instructor, lab that require logic circuits to be entered into the computer or to be formed in teams of no more than 2 students. Everybody okay there? Homework labs are not team labs and must be completed by each individual and student. Do y'all understand that? We need a team activity sign off, the team member supervising. So we got two. We're going to set this up, and you're going to take turns. Everybody's going to get a chance of entering programs, but it's a group effort. So I don't want to come back there and see one person program and the other guy's gone. All right. So the way it works is basically one person is entering things and the other person is telling them how to do it. Everybody okay? And then the next activity, what are y'all going to do? You're going to swap. Okay. The person that's entering, that's the person that needs to come up and sign the sheet when y'all ready. You are both responsible for the lab. So you got 2 sets of eyes making sure that y'all are correct, right? Understand? Does that make sense? So don't come back here and say, well, I'm not the one that entered it, because you're just as responsible as the other person, right? Everybody understand that? There's going to be a lab. It's going to be a check-off sheet down there. You come up there and you put your name, not both your names, just one name, whoever's programming. Then you'll put your station number. There's station numbers on each lab station down there. Then you're going to indicate whether you need help or you ready for a sign-off. Now, what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to go over every lab in class. That's when you need to ask questions. That makes sense. We're usually pretty lenient on assistance the first 4 weeks of the term, because that's when you're trying to get acclimated to that. But after that, if you come back and you want to know something that you should already know how to do, then I will give you assistance, but then I'll take off 5 points, because you should have asked the question where. Yeah, that makes sense. Labs are worth 100 points. So guys, I've seen guys sit back there all day trying to figure something out to sacrifice 5 points, and then they don't get all the labs done. Every lab is worth 100 points. So, when you get to the point, you need to ask if you need help, right? You understand that? Now, asking questions is one thing, but actually asking help for me to do something for you, right? You understand that? That's a different thing. When performing an actual PLC, label all the push buttons. So you're supposed to get labels. That's part of your, and you see the person that's done this, because you're going to give these things names. And it's a lot easier to look at names or symbols than it is to try to figure out which switch belongs to what, right? Everybody okay? Especially when the switches start at 1 and the modules start at 0. And that's also true on the output. So this light right here is called light 1, but it would be addressed, 2/0, right? 2/0, right? Y'all understand that? And plus it makes it a lot easier for me to come back and check it out too. When you say, okay, motor 2's turning on. We're not going to turn on motor 2. We're going to turn on a light that simulates motor 2. But if you got it labeled motor 2, then it makes it a lot easier for me to come in and check that out. Everybody okay? At every demonstrate your working PLC system for your instructor or procedure step, the instructor must initiate your lab book indicating the steps have been successfully completed before proceeding. Skipping over any instructor check will result in zeros. Everybody understand that? So this is a big tendency people have. They're waiting on me for a sign off, and then they go ahead and they say, well, we'll just continue on when he gets back here. Well, a lot of times you've done stuff that I don't want to see, right? You don't understand that. So make sure you put your name on the list to get the sign off. Everybody okay? Once you're confident that the program is working as prescribed, have the lab instructor check your circuit or your program. We call them circuits, but they're not really circuits, they're programs, right? You understand that? I need to reword that. And initial lab book, lab grade form before the circuit is checked off. Questions will be asked. So I'll come back there and I'll ask y'all. I'm gonna ask you what should I expect? What's this thing supposed to do? Stuff like that. Um, a major reduction will be made on labs turned in without instructor sign-offs. Usually when those get turned in, it usually means people copy. So basically, I'm grading your lab as we go along, right? You understand? And so when I come up and enter the grades in the lab book, if I sign your lab off and I look at this sheet to see if there's any deduction, then it makes it real easy for me to do it. Students will not be awarded points for portions of experiments completed by team members when they are absent or tardy. Or when the absent or tardy team member returns, he or she must continue labs at the point at which the present team member is currently working. There is no time schedule to make up labs due to absence. Now, we scaled it a little bit. We do drop some of your labs at the end of the term. But if you have a tendency to be an absent a lot, and labs are 35% of your grade, you are not going to pass this class. Everybody understand that? Is it 35 or 36? We drop one test. We talked about that. But labs, we understand that things happen. By the way, when you come back, you don't make your partner go back and do what they have already got signed off. And this is the biggest hassle that we have. I see a partner sitting over there not doing anything. He says, "Oh, I already got this checked out. I've already got this checked off." That's not right, guys. If you're absent, it's not fair to make the person that was here get a lower grade because you were absent, right? You understand that? So when you come back in, you pick up where they were at. Everybody okay? Well, huh? If they're on lab 10 and you miss lab 9, then you're gonna come back and
I just know when I was programming robots, I had a person that they eventually
well, if they were to come back, they were supposed to come back where you was at, not where they wanted to be. Are we okay? Everybody understand that? A lab grade form must be completed by each team member for each experiment. All lab grade forms must be turned in to the instructor. Don't take your lab grade form. In fact, guys, we got a desk down there that says lab's not ready to be graded. If you have a tendency not to leave your lab book at home and stuff like that, you can leave it here. But these lab grade forms, they do not leave here. Everybody understand? Because that is your official grade. The questions at each of any experiments. If you got any questions at the end of the experiments, I can't remember this class. This might come from another class. I don't have, like I said, I don't have classes here. But if there's any questions in there, these are not team efforts. These are your questions, right? Everybody understand that? Once you have completed an experiment, remove the completed experiment from the lab book. Place the pages in the correct order, beginning with the lab grade form and then the lab title page, followed by the pages that contain information about the activity. The lab title page must be included in the packet. Everybody understand that? Yes or no? Are we okay? PLC labs to be graded. So we got two drawers down there. They're not actually boxes. They're actually drawers. One of them's going to be labeled labs not ready to be graded. One's going to be labeled labs ready to be graded. If it's in the ready to be graded, whether it's completed or not, I'm going to grade it, right? Because I think that's what you want. If you put it in the not ready, I've had this happens too. Well, I turned that lab in. I said, and where would they find it at? Not ready to be graded. So I don't really look in that drawer at all. I just grab the ones that's in the ready to be graded and take it in. Do not tape, this is another problem I have. Do not staple multiple experiments together. So every experiment group has a lab form. Don't put 5 labs together and try to put one lab form up there. Everybody understand that? We okay back there? The completed experiments must be turned in. So what we do is, once I come up and sign off the last activity, I'll put the date that it's due, which will be the next class meeting, where you can go and you can get everything in order, right? You understand that. If there's any questions, you can answer the questions and that kind of stuff at home, and they'll be due the next class. Completed labs are the remaining instructor's possession during the entire term to complete the lab assignment will be returned to the student during the first week of the next semester upon request. Students' labs that are not claimed during that time period will be destroyed. So we're okay. And then there's a example of the lab form. By the way, this gives me problems too. We try to keep up with how long it takes y'all to do the labs. This is not the time. That happens all the time. They'll put the time that they started. That's the amount of time that you spent. Record the date and the amount of time, not the time, to the nearest half hour you spend in each lab session. In the table below, have the instructor initial the lab sheet time at the end of each session. Are we okay? And then this is where you put the activity, right? So with the activity 1, 2, 3. Up at the top, you'll put the name of the lab, PLC component. And then if it's got multiple activities, you'll put the activity again. You'll put who the programmer was and who the supervisor. So I told y'all all, the supervisor is the guy that's the person that's telling them how to hook them up. Or I'm sorry, how to program. Okay? So y'all not going to do any connection of the PLC in this class, even though I'll show you how to do it. So there's no more than 3 activities in a group and a set. And then this is where I grade that. We're going to be dealing with stuff in here. We're going to be in an electrical lab. I think the first thing up there, it says we don't allow short pants. If you got them on tonight, that's fine, but we don't use short pants in industrial applications. Everybody okay? Like I said, if you got them on tonight, that's fine, but and of course that's because we're dealing with an industrial class, right? Everybody okay? Okay, any questions on the lab procedures? Everybody got their copy, right? All of it makes sense?